Brexit, the gift that keeps on giving. Just when you think you've heard every catchphrase, twist and turn imaginable, the EU goes and retires one of its greatest hits, no cherry picking. That's right, after nearly a decade of watching British Prime Ministers grimace each time Michel Barnier uttered the words no cherry picking, the EU has officially decided the cherries are back on the menu. And my friends, they're ready to pick them. So first, let's step back and remember why this phrase became so iconic in the first place. In the heady days post-2016 referendum, Brussels quickly established one unbreakable rule. Britain could either fully accept the EU single market, including the movement of people, goods, services and capital, or say goodbye entirely. The EU wasn't running a fruit market. No cherry picking meant no bespoke deals, no tailored arrangements, no special favors. You took the whole fruit basket or you went hungry. For almost 10 years, this line was Brussels' way of saying take it or leave it, with the emphasis firmly on the leave it side. And it became the mantra for hardliners and frustrated negotiators, a vivid image of the EU's firm stance. But now, suddenly in 2025, this once sacred slogan has been politely escorted into retirement. Enter Pedro Serrano, the EU's suave ambassador to London. Speaking at an event hosted by the UK in a Changing Europe think tank, he casually dismissed the iconic analogy as no longer helpful. Instead, Serrano insisted it's time to move beyond rhetorics and see the EU-UK relationship as a living relationship. Translation, it's time for Brussels to admit cherries exist and maybe pick a few after all. But why now? Well, ironically enough, because Brussels and London recently did exactly what was once strictly forbidden, they cherry-picked. At a recent summit in London, the EU and UK made headlines by agreeing to negotiate British access to parts of the single market in electricity and agri-foods, two sectors suffering heavily from Brexit-induced disruptions. Yes, you heard that correctly. After years of preaching unity, Brussels decided selective participation isn't so bad when it suits them. Charles Grant from the Centre for European Reforms put it plainly. The no cherry-picking stance was a product of the strained relationship post-referendum, born from fear that other EU countries might follow Britain out the door. But now, when mutual interests align, cherry-picking isn't just allowed, it's actively encouraged. In other words, if the cherries are ripe enough, Brussels is happy to pluck them alongside the Brits. The shift isn't minor, it's monumental, because let's face it, Britain has been cherry-picking behind closed doors for months, carefully realigning itself closer to the EU in sectors where Brexit has clearly backfired. And now it's official. And Brussels seems just fine with it. Let's look at what this means practically. At the heart of this new détente is a comprehensive roadmap agreed upon at the recent summit. It's like a diplomatic wish list, covering everything from electricity trading and sanitary regulations for food to fishing, carbon trading, law enforcement, and even visas for young people. And suddenly, the no cherry-picking dogma looks laughably outdated. Formal negotiations are set to kick off once the European Commission secures negotiating mandates from EU member states. And while this sounds bureaucratically tedious, yeah it is, Brussels is hopeful these mandates will start appearing as early as July 1st. Urgent issues like fishing rights and electricity trading are expected to move fast, motivated by looming deadlines that would otherwise cause serious disruptions. But here's where it gets amusing. Britain's ambassador to the EU, Lindsay Croysdale-Appleby, recently suggested that the negotiations over the EU's €150 billion safe defence fund wouldn't even need the standard formalities. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen even optimistically declared that defence negotiations might just take weeks. Weeks! For context, that's shorter than it takes most Brits to get their passports renewed. What about the fishing industry, that symbolic Brexit battleground? Well, here's the punchline. The UK recently gave away 12 years of generous fishing rights to EU fleets, and in exchange, Brussels has finally broken its omerta on cherry picking. It seems fish were the price for the EU's rhetorical surrender. Who knew cherries and fish made such good bargaining chips? But it's not all sunshine and cherries. Behind the scenes, a little tension remains. Prime Minister Keir Starmer presented the summit outcomes as a done deal, conveniently glossing over the inconvenient fact that most items were merely promises to negotiate further. Cue irritation in Brussels, where officials view such announcements as unhelpful spin. Still, Ambassador Serrano kept it diplomatic, describing the summit as providing a vision for the future, neatly sidestepping any mention of exaggerated claims. His careful diplomacy should suggest that Brussels really wants to keep things amicable this time around. Perhaps both sides have finally realized that cherry picking done selectively and strategically is better than no picking at all. Looking ahead, Serrano offered a hopeful preview of next year's program. But this time next year, he envisioned agreements on food safety standards, energy cooperation, youth visas, and enhanced justice collaboration. In other words, the EU and UK will be engaging in the very cherry-picking that Brussels previously claimed was impossible. So what changed? Why the sudden EU pivot? In short, reality. Brexit was never black and white, always shades of grey. Cherry-picking was taboo because Brussels worried about precedent setting. But now, pragmatism reigns. The EU realizes a mutually beneficial relationship with the UK, carefully managed and selectively tailored, is far better than endless rhetorical battles. And so, here we are. The EU's once sacrosanct no cherry-picking rule officially relegated to the dustbin of Brexit clichés. Now, Brussels openly admits it's willing to compromise provided there's mutual interest. We've gone from a rigid take-it-or-leave-it stance to a flexible, let's see what works. It's the ultimate Brexit irony. The phrase meant to discipline Britain, to show that leaving would mean losing privileges, now symbolizes EU flexibility and willingness to negotiate. Maybe Brussels realized something crucial. Cherries taste pretty good, and a strict no-cherry diet isn't healthy for anyone. So what's next? Likely more pragmatic cherry-picking. From energy trading to defense, the UK will quietly move closer to the EU sector by sector. Will Britain fully rejoin the single market? Probably not anytime soon. But selective integration, previously taboo, is now clearly back on the table. Brexit was supposed to end cherry-picking forever. Instead, it's turned it into the new diplomatic norm. Brussels and London have finally learned a crucial lesson. Flexibility trumps dogma. And as Brexit continues to evolve, don't be surprised if more cherries pop up on the diplomatic menu. And there we have it, the EU officially retiring its once favorite Brexit catchphrase, the end of an era, and perhaps the start of something refreshingly pragmatic. Thanks for joining us today on Outside Views, and if you enjoyed this detailed dissection of Brexit cherries, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And I promise there'll be plenty more Brexit absurdities, ironies, and yes, cherry picking to come. Until next time, keep your cherries close and your Brexit realities closer. And if you want to see another video right now, there's one right here in the end screen, right next to a video from my newest channel. And if you like animals, I really would love your support there too. Whichever you choose, I'll see you there. I'll be back.